This session is for OCR FP2, the topic is integration, and we're doing June 2010, question 3. And what we're asked to do in the question is to use the substitution t equals tan 1/2x to show that the integral between 0 and 1/3 pi of 1 over 1 minus sine x is equal to 1 plus root 3. So if we do a little bit of working over here, so the substitution t equals tan 1/2 x or x over 2, then we are going to have to find dx. So I'll start by differentiating that. So dt by dx is 1/2 sec squared x over 2, and we know that t equals tan 1/2 x, so I'm going to write sec squared as 1 plus tan squared, so that's 1 plus tan squared x over 2, which of course now we know is 1 plus t squared. But of course we want to write dx, so I'm going to invert that, and so dx by dt will be 2 over 1 plus t squared. We've got limits in the question, so I'll work those out now. So x equals 0, so that means tan of nothing is 0, so t equals 0. And when x is equal to 1/3 pi, then x over 2 is 6 pi, and the tan of the 6th pi is 1 over root 3. So we now have our correct limits. And the only other thing it's worth mentioning is remember that you can find sine x in terms of t from your formula books. So sine x will be 2t over 1 plus t squared. So I'll write that in there as well. But just be aware that that's just coming. You can actually use your formula book if you don't remember that. So substituting in now, so we're going to find the integral of 1 over 1 plus sine x dx between 0 and 1/3 pi, and that now is equal to the integral of, so replacing our limits first of all, so it'll be t equals 0 to t equals 1 over root 3. I'm only putting the t in at the beginning just to remind ourselves that we have actually changed the limits. So 1 over 1 minus sine x will become 1 minus 2t over 1 plus t squared. And that we're multiplying then by dx, which is 2 over 1 plus t squared dt. So now we're integrating with respect to t. Now you do need to go through and simplify this carefully. So this denominator here would be best written as a single fraction. So if we write that as a single fraction, it's going to be 1 over, so it will be 1 plus t squared minus 2t all over 1 plus t squared, and then we've still got the 2 over 1 plus t squared dt. But of course if you look at this fraction, this first one, and dividing by that means we're multiplying by its inverse, so the 1 plus t squares will cancel out. So you'll end up on the numerator with a 2, and 1 minus 2t plus t squared is just 1 minus t all squared. So it does simplify down. And if we integrate that, then what we end up with is 2 over 1 minus t. So just check that you can get that integral, and we will then have to substitute in our limits. Now when we substitute our limits in there, we're going to get when we substitute in 1 over root 3, we'll get 2 over 1 minus 1 over root 3. And when we substitute in t equals 0, we're just going to get 2. Now, it's not the answer that's in the form that we're asked to give it, so we better just check. And so it's just a matter of making sure, again, if we rewrite that as a single fraction, we'll end up with root 3 minus 1 over root 3. So the root 3 will come into the numerator, and then it's just a matter of going through and just checking carefully that if you rationalise the denominator now, then on the top line you'll get 2 root 3 upon root 3 plus 1 over root 3 minus 1 upon root 3 plus 1, so that's going to be 2. So those go out, and you can see now that you end up with the answer 1 plus root 3. So if we have a quick look at how we're awarding the marks, so there were 6 marks for that question. So in terms of where the marks are coming from, you're getting a mark here for finding dx by dt is 2 over 1 plus t squared. You're getting a method mark for substituting in and changing the variable to t. You're going to get an accuracy mark for simplifying that, so that you ended up with the correct integral, and then a method mark for integrating correctly, an accuracy mark at this stage for substituting in your limits, and the last accuracy mark here, so the last of the 6 marks, was for showing that this result up here simplified to 1 plus root 3. And it did state in the mark scheme that you needed to show that clearly. So 6 marks in total. So don't forget that if you want to access further revision videos, then you can do so by going to the Further Maths Support Programme website and following the link.